like to start with a story. A few years ago, I wanted to participate as a bike rider in a big event, 3 days race, large distances, off-road. And after trying to do it twice on my own, I saw that I understood that I have to get some kind of a coach and train better to get to this event in a good shape and complete it. So I registered on a team, and we started practicing. And every beginning of the week we got it was Sunday 7 a.m. We got the schedule for the coming week with all the practices, and we just followed it, and we knew what we have to do, and we just did it. I went to the event and participated and completed it, and I was very happy. And it ended on a Saturday, and then on Sunday morning I realized that it's 7 a.m. Sunday morning. What am I going to do this week? And since I was registered only for this event in terms of the team, I didn't get any more instructions. And I said, okay, maybe I did practice like this for several months, but what did I gain from it except for the shape that I was in? Almost nothing. I didn't know what to do next, how to practice, how to prepare to the next event, how to maintain my current shape. And I just realized that I haven't learned so much. And when we're talking about mentors, maybe in some cases in the industry, the name is coaches. I'm not referring to the sport coach, but more to the mentor or coach in the business term, someone that helps you grow and learn stuff about yourself for life. And if we look at the kind of the spectrum, you can be learning on the left side. It's more about getting the fish. So you as a mentor, you can provide the fish to your mentee, and you can assist in problem solving. And then whenever you will create dependency. So every time someone will have to solve a problem, it will come to you, it will ask for your advice, and you can provide it, but you didn't create someone that can go on his own. And on the next level, you can coach people on how to achieve goals, and you can help them set goals and achieve them by you following up and talking with them on a weekly basis and seeing how they are progressing. And if you really want to give them a rod and not a fish, then you need to teach them how to set goals, how to achieve those goals. And this is on the more indirect side of the spectrum. And this is where we're trying to aim for, right? You want to grow the people in your team or in your group that will be independent and will be able to move and grow in their career. So we'll start with a few questions just to kind of get to know you. So who are you? Are you a team leader? Raise your hand. If you are a manager of managers, raise your hand. If you are a coach, if you think you are doing coaching or mentoring, and do you think your one-on-ones are effective? So I asked those questions because questions trigger discovery. I assume you probably raise your hand maybe in the first or second question, but in many cases I just lost the audience because I asked it too fast. So the question does trigger your discovery and gives you the ability to think about the answer and try to understand, where you are, what are you doing, are you doing it right? The effective question, for example, triggers your discovery of yourself. Are my one-on-ones really effective? But the fact that I didn't give the time to answer is not great. So the first tip I can give you is you should ask one question and wait. And usually, as I say, like the rule of thumb is count until 7 at least. Because some people takes a little bit more time to answer. They need time to internalize, to think about the answer. So give it the time, ask one question, and then wait. So we can go back to this set of questions. And who are you? Are you a team leader? think about it. Maybe this is an easy question. Are you a manager of managers? Do you manage other leaders? Are you doing coaching and mentoring like I talked before? Is it coaching on the more on the indirect side, or is it more mentoring and giving advice? And do you think your one-on-ones are effective? Are they going deeply? Are they helping your mentee or your teammate learn and grow through these one-on-ones? So after talking a little bit about you, I'll introduce myself. My name is Shai Mandel. I'm currently VP Engineering at Next Insurance. I'm developing for more than 20 years. I used to be a developer of code. I'm saying that now I'm a developer of software and people. So I'm trying to develop the people in my team. And I'm mentoring both at Next Insurance, managing a few groups. And I'm also mentoring as part of the alumni network of the Technion in Israel and part of Plateau, which is an international mentoring platform. I worked in the past in several companies. Some of them are very big, some of them are startups, very early stage. And today at Next, we are a hyper-growth company, raised so far $880 million. And we are providing small business insurance for businesses in the US. Based on a lot of technology that helps us do it very effectively, tailor-made for each customer, and very easy and quick, disrupting the traditional insurance market. So going to talk about 7 questions for mentors, and we'll start with the first one, which is really open, and it says just what's on your mind. By the way, this is the question that shows up on Facebook. So they tried several ways to ask this question and try to trigger as much kind of response from the users. And this came up as the best answer, the best question that triggers many different kinds of answers. And what you want to trigger with this kind of question is really ask the person, you know, what is bothering them, what excites them, what worries, what disappoints, trying to see where they are. If they are very happy, so what are they happy about? If they are very anxious, what is it about? And it can be, you know, a project that they're working on, and it can be, you know, other people, it can be something at home. You want to try and see what is it. And in some cases, sometimes feels a bit odd, or they kind of feel just come up with a, you know, the very basic answer that, you know, everything is okay, thank you. It's somewhat similar to my daughter coming back from school, and I ask him, how was it at school? And she just says, you know, it was great. Saying, okay, and in 2 words, really great. And in 3 words, really, really great. And then doesn't open up much. But then when I start asking, and, you know, what did you learn? What was the first lesson? What was the second lesson? What did you do in the break? Then things start to surface. So if you are getting someone that is that, you know, kind of close and introvert, then maybe you can open it up and ask. You can ask about project, like, where are you with the project? What about your last task? What is your next task? Do you feel that, you know, you're going to meet the deadline? Or maybe there is an issue. Will you feel proud about this task? And so on. You can open up many different questions from this project, which will trigger him and to answer really what's on his mind. Another aspect is about people. So you can ask, you know, how are you with your peers? If it's peer team leads, or if it's people in the team, do you work well with them? Do you feel that, you know, people are going around you? Are you happy to work with them? Are there any issues? How was the last pull request? Did you get you know, relevant feedback? So this triggers a lot about how they are doing with the people around them. And the third option, which is quite a bit more deep, is about patterns. So if, let's say you started talking about the project and you said, okay, I have this task, but it's a bit delayed. And you already talked last week and you talked about another task which was a bit delayed and before that, and then you can ask, okay, so maybe there is a pattern here, maybe we need to do something about it, maybe estimate it differently, or maybe commit to it in a different way, or maybe there is an issue with the code and we need to do some kind of improvement in the code so it will be easier to predict more what we are doing. So this is a really more kind of deep question that you can get to. But the important thing is not to get stuck. So not stay on the what's on your mind and just say, okay, everything is good, but really start and look deeper into things. And in many cases, when we have this, then usually problems will come up. And I think in each and every one of us, there is kind of a monster inside. And this monster is the advice monster. Okay, you are always very happy to come and give your advice from your experience, from your thinking. We are, in a sense, problem solvers inherently, and we are trying to help and solve the issue. And we should be aware of that. We should not jump into giving the advice because we want the other person to learn and to grow. So we don't need to give the answer so quickly. And what will help us prevent this kind of eager to give the response and the advice is to go to the next question, which is, and what else? So if we discussed one item and you said, what's on your mind? And you said, I'm really concerned about this task. So you can ask, okay, and what else? And the what else, you can take it to different directions and you should be open to it, but it can be, there is this other task, or maybe there is this other person, or maybe I'm worried that, even when I'll finish the task, I'll get many comments and I will need to redo it. And I'm worried about that. So this question really triggers a more wide discussion. And by opening it, you are revealing a few more things that are on his mind, and then you can prioritize. Then you can start with the right thing and not jump on the first one that he is raising, and then maybe it's not the most important thing, it's just the most burning issue. So this question helps you to hold yourself from giving the advice too early. And it also helps generate more alternatives. So more alternatives to what's on your mind. And even when you are starting to drill down into one subject, you can ask, okay, so what did you think you can do about it? And then you can generate more alternative by asking more, what else? So maybe you can say, I can do A. I can work harder and meet the deadline, or I can do B, which is maybe delay the deadline. But there are also always are more options, and an easy option that always comes to mind is don't do it. So if this is a task, it's taking more than expected, maybe we can cut it out of scope for this release, out of scope of the entire thing, because maybe it's not that important. If it's so requires so much investment, maybe it's not worthwhile the investment. So there are always more options, and you should help your mentee get to it and find those different options and alternatives on his own. And then you can move on to the third question, which is, what's the real challenge here for you? And if you look at this question, there are two parts for it. One is the real challenge. So it's not just what's on the surface, like, there is this task and I'm busy. It's more like, there is a real challenge here for you because maybe it's a challenge with estimating it on the first place, or maybe it's a challenge of knowledge and ramping up with the area that he's working on. So you want to distill what is the real challenge. And when you say for you, it means it's personal. So it's not a real challenge about, I don't know, our code is messy, and then this is why everything is taking long. It's more about you. How can you improve it? What's the real challenge here for you? So if the code is messy, maybe the challenge for you is it's hard for you to go into the code and to read the code, or maybe it's hard for you to stop yourself from doing a refactoring before you actually add the new feature. So it's important for this to be personal, because this is how a person can grow, because he understands what's really bothering him and not in general. And then we go to the next question, and this is, for me, it's the hardest question. There is this joke about Bill Gates is going fishing on a lake, and then suddenly he catches a goldfish. And he was just going there for the fun, so he's taking the fish out of the rod and he's going to throw it back to the lake. And the fish asks, "Hey, wait, what about the wish?" So Bill Gates thinks a minute, thinks another minute, and says, "Okay, whatever. What do you want?" So you should also ask this for your mentee. What do they want? And this actually means that there is something that they want, and it might be that they need more time. It might be that they need more time to learn. Maybe they just need backing from you. And when you ask this, you should actually listen carefully and see from what they say they want, what is actually that they need. So, for example, if someone tells you, today I want to go early, I want to leave early and go home, and you should ask, okay, what are you planning to do? What is it about? And then you can see what is standing behind it, because it might be that they are just, they are tired from the last week or from the last days, and they need some time for recreation and to regroup. But it also might mean that they are looking for understanding. They have a sick kid at home, and the wife is really busy with another project, and they want you to understand that you have to help at home. And it can also be something about creation. They really like to create stuff, so they create software, but they also they like carpentry, and they want to go and finish this bench that they were working on. So if you listen carefully and if you ask the right questions, then you can understand what do they really need, and then you can provide it later on. There is a saying by George Bernard Shaw that the greatest problem in communication is the illusion that it has been accomplished. So even if you ask all these questions and you ask what do you want and you try to understand what do you need, you must understand if this really is the issue. And also when you talk with the person, you want to understand that whatever you talked about, he actually got it in the way you wanted it. And one of the best ways to do it is to reflect. So you can go back and say, okay, so what I hear from you is that you actually want to go home early because you want to do some creation. And that's great. I'm happy, and I think it's good to create some stuff that is different. And you can also ask your mentee and ask what did you accomplish, and to trigger this, you go to the next question, which is how can I help? And in this question, you are trying to help the mentee to explain what exactly do they need. Okay, how you can help them, and in many cases they might say, thinking about it, we already talked about it, I already know what to do, so maybe I don't need your help. It was just good to have this conversation. But in many cases, they will need help, and you should be there. And there are several options to answer this. Okay, so there are few possible answers. One is, yes, I can do that. So let's say they ask to go early, and you just say, okay, go ahead, you can do it. I trust you. I know that you complete your task. If not today, then tomorrow. But if you're going to meet the deadline, I'm fine. Do whatever you need. In some cases, you can say, no, I can't do it. Okay, let's say there is a deadline, and this is a deadline committed to external customer, and you can't push it. So you can say, no, I just can't do it. And maybe a better answer, or in some cases you can provide the answer that, I can't do that, but I can do something else, and you can think together about what's the other thing. So maybe it's a commitment to a customer, but maybe we can communicate to the customer, or you can bring another team member that will help and solve this issue, or you can sit with him and say if you can simplify the solution. So that there can be other options. And remember the question about what else. When you bring it up, you can also ask him, what else can I help with? Or what is another solution in this area that we can do? Another question, another possible answer is, let me think about it. And when you say that, you buy time for you, but also for your mentee, right? If you go and think about it and you're trying to think about other possible solutions, I assume that your mentee will also think about other solutions. He may find workarounds. He may find different solutions. So you are buying time for you, but also for them. And it's not a bad question, bad answer. And another answer can be, let me check. So maybe you can go back to the customer and check with them. Okay, it's a possible answer. By the way, if you do that, it is not an excuse or an explanation that they can, let it go. They should still continue and try to do the best they can until you finish checking. Okay. So let's practice. Let's say Joe comes to you, catches you in the office and says, you already know I have to deliver this feature by Friday, by the end of the sprint. And I also have this presentation to prepare for because we have the demo of the end of the sprint. And now I was just assigned a production bug. So what should I do? Okay, so what will you do? And think about the questions we talked about. So I think that the first thing is to remember this advice master. Okay, don't try to solve the issue. You should go through the 5 questions we learned so far and think about it. And you don't need to ask what's on your mind. You already threw it at you. But you can ask, okay, and what else? So what else is keeping you busy? What's the situation at home? Do you have other things? Is this deadline tight because you need to do more than you expected? So you want to reveal more details about it. And then you can ask, okay, what's the real challenge for you? Maybe you can just do it, right? It's a bug, fix the bug, continue to do the feature and meet the deadline. But maybe they will say, actually this presentation, I hate presenting. I don't know how to create the deck. I don't know how to present it to people. This is really troubling me. So you can help them, make the deck, sit on it with them. There can be many different solutions for this problem, but it's definitely not a time issue. It's more like, stage fear or something like that they are worried about. And then you can ask, okay, what do you want? So how can I help you? Or what is it that you actually want? So maybe they want more time. Maybe they want not to do this presentation at all, or maybe they want this bug to be assigned to someone else, okay? And then you can ask, how can I help? Which is, if they want this bug assigned to someone else, maybe you don't need to do it. You can just tell them, okay, go ahead, ask him. If he's willing to take it, you can take it. And then maybe they will say, okay, so what I want for you is, I want you to approve it. So if they will say we don't want to do it or something like that, I can come back to you and you'll back me up. So this is the question about how can I help. In many cases, maybe in this case, they will just say, okay, I understand what I need to do, I'll do it. So these were the 5 questions. And then we are coming to 2 more questions that kind of sum it up. One is the strategic question. So what is strategy? Michael Porter says that the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. So if you're doing a lot of stuff, it might be that you're not focused. If you have a strategy, you have to be focused on it. And if you're doing too much, you're probably not going just on your strategy, but you're going, all around. So you need to decide what you're not doing. And the way to question, and there is kind of a trend today that, people say we'll just hustle, we'll never stop, we'll work harder, everything will be fine. But when you're staying busy, it's just another way of laziness in many cases. It's just meaning you continue with the inertia. instead of thinking about hard of what not to do, you just keep doing whatever you're doing. So you should stop and think about it, and you want to do it also to trigger this at your mentee. And as we said, triggering is through a question. And the best question for that is, if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? Okay, so if this guy says, this Joe says, anyway, I'll do everything. I'll do all these three things. So what is he saying no to? Maybe he's saying no to having more time with his family, or to having a good quality of what he's developing, or other things. So you have to ask it, and this brings him to think about, okay, what is the trade-off that I'm taking here? And then the last one is the learning question. We want the mentee to learn, right? We want him to know how to do it on his own the next time. And instead of giving him an advice, we're asking them questions, right? And this way we are triggering them to learn and to know about what they can do. Instead of just doing this and taking this action, you want them to come up with, from this session, with action and the learning. And to do that, the question you ask is, what was most useful for you, to you? And when you're asking this, it's first of all, it forces them to understand what was useful. Okay, what did they learn? Maybe what in this process was useful for them to learn more, or to be able to take better decisions. Okay, they came for you to help them, and this is how you help, right? And when they say it, they already kind of rehearse what they learn. So if they learn something, it's very easy to go out of the room and forget about it. But when you ask this, they have to think about, okay, what was it that was different this time? What did I learn? And they're already talking about it. It's like, when you're in a lecture and you write down whatever the professor said, it's the first time you kind of rehearse this and internalize this. And this question also helps them internalize this, either in writing or in just talking about it and saying what was useful. So this really helps understand what they got from this session. So to sum up the 7 questions, we said we start with a very open question, what's on your mind? And we're trying to even open it up more and generate more alternatives, more topics for discussion, to make sure that we are focusing on the right one and the most important one. The third question is, what's the real challenge here for you? Making it personal, making it really talking about the challenge. Number 4 is about, what do you want? So, and you actually want to hear, what do they need? The 5th question is to understand how you can help, or maybe how they can help themselves and they don't need your help, or they need to articulate very well what do they need as the help. Number 6, the strategic question. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? What are the trade-offs? What did you give up? And the learning question, what was most useful to you, for you? So coming to the end of this lecture, what was most useful for you? What did you learn here? What do you take with you for your next one-on-one, your next mentoring session? Okay. And if I can say what I learned from that all of these 7 questions come from this great book, which is called the Coaching Habit. And it's talking about habits, but also about this question and how to make this mentoring sessions a habit. And the questions, part of the habit of doing this mentoring session. What I took from it, what was most useful for me, is this notion of fighting your advice monster and not giving advices before you're letting the other person think about it and try and solve it on his own. Thank you very much. My name is Shai Mandel. You can find me on LinkedIn and on Medium. I hope you found this useful. Bye-bye.